All right, time is 4:04. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Civilian Appeals Board for March 19th, 2025. First item on the agenda, I believe, is roll call.
All right, so I have Russell Olmsted.
Here.
Jason Osborne.
Present.
Dean Pacific.
Here.
Douglas Maliski.
Here.
Reginald Howard, who is not here. Sophia Brewer.
Here.
Jordan Cross. And Michelle Williams. Both Jordan and Michelle told us that they weren't going to be here today. So. And Reginald, yep, yes.
All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the February 19th, 2025 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Support.
Any discussion? The only thing I'll note is that this very eloquent statement attributed to me, I think, is more of your old. I'm not sure I went into that much depth at that meeting, but I don't see anything substantively wrong with it, so I'm not going to object to it. At this point, unless there's any further discussion, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposition. The motion passes. All right. The next item on the agenda is the board liaison report.
Good afternoon, everyone. No report.
Oh, man, we're going to set a record today. All right. Next item is old business. Are you going to introduce this for me, or?
Well, we have a separate item for the proposed bylaw amendment, and I don't
s-
think there's any additional old business.
I see that now. Anyone else have any old business?
Nope.
Seeing none, moving on to item 6, proposed bylaw amendment.
Okay, so at the last board meeting and some other meetings before that, there's been discussion about the board wanting to make amendment to several or to a few places in its bylaws. Mr. Kyle did appropriately post the fact that the board will be engaging in discussion regarding those bylaws changes. With that being said, we'd already had discussion with Labor Relations, and there's a representative here today regarding those particular bylaws that have been discussed previously, and recognize that those do not need to be negotiated through collective bargaining. That was also confirmed with both the Labor Relations Division and the Law Department. So it brought us to today, where the plan was to have a discussion and vote related to those amendments. However, quorum, this board currently has 8 members. So in order for us to make changes to the bylaws, it requires more than a traditional quorum. Our counsel did calculate that for me, and he came up with a number that's necessary in order to do it at 5.33, which would push us to that 6 board members in order to be able to have the requisite number of votes to move forward on that. And we have 5 board members present today. As we've already done, the roll call will indicate that, some absences were due to illness and things of that nature, so they were unable to know about that ahead of time. With that being said, it's my recommendation that we have this discussion and vote at a different date. Whereas we could have a discussion today, it probably is not the best use of time, because the other board members would need to engage in it as well before they vote on it. So that's where we stand.
I'll say, I hate to lose the opportunity, and we could certainly discuss it, but I think the risk is that whatever discussion we have will be mirrored at a later meeting, when the person or persons who aren't here would rehash a lot of the same things we discussed. So if there's any other opinions, I'm open to hear them now, but
No, I agree with that. I think that that we've been trying for a while, but if we have to go towards one more meeting on this, that's probably in the best interest of making sure that everybody's voice can be heard on this, and not having to rehash other things again in the future.
I'll just move forward to, I move to table the proposed bylaw amendment discussion and changes until our next regularly scheduled meeting.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this issue? All right, seeing none, we'll take it to a vote. We'll take another oral vote. All in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes. All right. Where'd my agenda go? Next item is open discussion.
The only thing that I wanted to put in was we had our use of force training for the board last week, and want to thank the police department for making time to actually do that training with us again, as well as for OPA and everybody for making sure that these trainings happen. But as on the discussion of training, I think that I'd like us to be able to consider, I don't know what trainings we've got planned for the future, but one that I would be interested in seeing how done is, we have a use of force training, but I would very much like to be, see what kind of training the GRPD has around de-escalation as well, if that's separate from the use of force, because it is something that I know that is talked about quite frequently and kind of pertains to a lot of the cases that we hear here in the board. And I think it would be good to have a training that kind of emphasizes what sort of strategy and trainings the GRPD has around that, as well as policy and practices.
I did, when I was there, instead of just doing the zombie one, which was great fun, I did also do one of the scenarios, and it was a de-escalation scenario. I thought it was quite interesting the way that they do it. The first time through, in my case, I was a schizophrenic individual, and the first time through, I played the role of the schizophrenic individual with sounds and visual hallucinations, and that was all through the VR machinery. And then the second time through, I was a police officer who did the same thing, and I thought that was really interesting, because it gave you choices, like, do you do this or do you do that? And then it says, congratulations, you've successfully de-escalated.
Yeah, and I think, thank you for sharing that. And I think along those lines, like having that sort of, if there is any sort of extra training that we could see that is happening is around their policy and practices, just like what we get for the use of force, as well as for training around from the Labor Department and from OPA and the city attorney's office. I think it would be useful to be able to contextualize a grand scheme, kind of a general vision of what all of it encompasses, as well as escalation and de-escalation, how it all pertains together within policy and practice.
We can make inquiry with the police department about that request. I don't know if they train separately on that, or if that's just a part of how they train on use of force, but I can ask.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, anything further for open discussion? Seeing none, we're moving on to public comment. Any member from the public is welcome to voice their comments or concerns at this time. Appearing to be none, I think that reaches the end of our agenda for today. Unless there's anything further, we will stand in adjournment until our next session.